that I can genuinely scale and no longer really do any work.
be a smart, lazy person.
And I don't mean any disrespect to someone who starts a business and just wants to work for himself or herself and do something. That's awesome, man. That gives you the freedom to control your destiny, to do your life. That's brilliant, beautiful. And you had the competence and confidence matrix. I've spent over a decade working with hundreds and hundreds of real estate investors, building their systems. And then I built SmartPhone with my co-founders. Boom.
Fam, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. We have a legend in the room for every real estate investor who's ever probably picked up a phone or had a conversation with a seller on the platform side, on the compliance side, on the communication side. You probably, if you haven't used the software yet, you probably heard about it, but it's SmartPhone, right? So with us, we have Mr. Jordan Fleming. He's the CEO and founder of SmartPhone. You launched that 8 years ago. I think I became your client or your customer on probably 7.5 years ago when I started using the platform. You guys integrated with Podio, which there was nothing that did that back then. And there's a lot of things that have changed through the years, right? But you guys have always stayed on top of the innovation route when it comes to communication, the compliance route, growing the business, and your journey, brother. I mean, I mean, we've had a few conversations to this point, and it's nothing short of incredible, right? Taking that company, launching it 8 years ago from 0 to 65, people, and 0 to 10 mil, and all bootstrapped. So it's an honor to have you on the podcast. Thank you for making the hike and hanging out with us today. So, ladies and gents, we have Mr. Jordan Fleming in the house. Let's go.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure. It was so fun to finally meet you not too long ago, and to be able to sit down and talk today is a privilege and a real pleasure. So thank you for having me in.
Yeah, thank you, man. The feeling is mutual. I remember we jumped on a Zoom call. I don't know, 2 to 5 years ago or something like that. And briefly, just customer support, type of stuff, and it's like, yeah, this guy's the owner of the platform, and like he's in it, right? Like you're providing the support, and we were talking right before we click record about bootstrapping the business. You've been through it all when it comes to building, right? And a business from the ground up, something in software, which is, probably 10 times harder, to make, and you're building something and making it stick. So talk to me before I get ahead of myself. Just bring it back. Give us a little bit of background, how you got started and why did you choose this path of helping real estate investors first, and then, venturing into everything else that you're doing on the AI front and all the innovation stuff. So.
Yeah, I wish it was planned. This would be a better story if everything was planned out. I'd be a genius.
I don't know, brother. I doubt that. Honestly, I doubt that. I think the coolest stories just happen randomly, I feel.
Yeah, I would be a genius if it was planned, and unfortunately it wasn't. And even getting into the software business, before the software business, I went from doing my postgraduate work, where I was doing, I did a master's and I did most of a PhD in Edinburgh, Scotland. Mm-hmm. I realized I didn't want to work for anybody, and the only thing you can do with a PhD in music is teach.
Yeah.
And I started my first business, which was a consultancy, and I had no experience, and I had no training, and I had no qualifications, and no network, but I was able to. I joined a BNI group, and I just sort of grafted and built that. And then pivoted later to doing more higher level consultancy work as I got more experience, and then I got into the Podio world, and then I saw an opportunity. My co-founders and I, saw that opportunity, and we went for it. But there was no master plan on that. I'd hate to say. I did know this. I was tired of having a consultant business where you're selling time.
Yeah,
And
you're tapping yourself out.
Well, and no matter how much, when it's a consultancy, unless you're super lucky, no matter when you start a consultancy and you're selling your time, and then you try and scale that. And at one point I had about 7 employees in that company, and the problem is, of course, that you are the brand when you're a consultant like that.
Yeah.
You're not Deloitte's. You're not one of these big 4 consulting firms, and people are buying into you because, of course, you're the one selling them on the vision. And you have an impossible situation of scaling that type of business.
Right.
And I knew I wanted a scaled business.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to figure out what is a business model that I can genuinely scale and no longer really do any work.
be a smart, lazy person, which is not, the reason I say it like that is because I it resonates, man. When that landed for me, I was still working at the fire department. I was like, I want to do something else. I wanted to get into architecture. I had a couple of different interests, and one was architecture. The other one was psychology, and I was like, all right, cool. And I my captain made the comment, like, you realize, right, like that if you do that, you can never get away. And I was like, oh shit, he's right, because I am going to be the architect, and unless I draft a practice and do all these things and whatnot. But it was like, no, that's going to take forever. Same thing for psychology. If I become the psychologist, like I am I am the product.
Your time is the product.
So same thing with consulting. Now we have the ability, and I still coach and consult, but now we have the ability to do it in different fashions where we're leveraging software and CRMs and whatnot, and I feel like it's more of a depending on how you build that type of business, you have the ability to tap in, you check in, and kind of still have the freedom, right? If you're able to leverage it, for example, in group coaching. But when you're consulting, and it's a very different thing than doing, for example, group mentorship, right? Because you're tied into the hour in, the hour out. Even though the pay, maybe a lot bigger,
maybe real good hour in and hour pay, but there is a cap to that.
Yeah.
And you're also not really building a business that has a value to it outside of it.
Right.
And that's something that also I wanted to build something. I wanted to build something and build a team.
Mm-hmm.
And my co-founders, Vlad and Alex, and I were aligned on this together. And but we also wanted to build something of real value that had a tangible, a multiplier value.
Something you could exit.
Something you can exit. And that's not easy to do at a consultancy, unless you build up a consultancy that's really good. It is essentially a lifestyle business. And I don't mean that with disrespect, but it ebbs and flows with you, and it's you. And when you decide to turn it on, the resale value is not really very high, because it's like, but it's this,
it's attached to your
it's
need.
attached to you and your persona and everything. And I wanted to make sure, I was really trying to find a business where I could scale it. And I've always been very keen not to work excessive hours. I hate this kind of uber macho. I get up at 4 and I get up at 4 and I never see my kids and I hustle and blah blah blah. I hate that.
Hustle is a season, man. It's not a business strategy.
This hustle culture is bullshit, and we need to stop it.
Yeah.
My goal was always to work as little as I could at the maximum. I am an incredibly productive person when I work hard.
Yeah.
But when I was CEO of the company and we were 55 people, I worked from 12 p.m. till 5:30 every day.
Yeah.
That's it. When I was CEO of the company, because what value do I as a CEO bring? What am I doing on a daily basis that should require more time?
Yeah.
Nothing. What should you as a CEO of a company that's got
highest and best?
Well, hire better people, hire smart people. Your job at that point, the CEO's job is really, when it gets to that level, you are surveying the whole board and figuring out where you need to adjust pieces.
Right.
but then the pieces go and do the work. Once you get to a certain level, probably past 25, 30 people, the truth is, as CEO, you setting the vision, you're setting the culture, and you're setting those kind of paths up, but your job isn't to execute anything.
Yeah.
What the hell could you possibly be executing on a daily basis?
Yeah, and it takes a minute. I mean, to get to a point where you're operating like that, right? Like, so let's put some stuff on the table, but it like for example, for you, it wasn't. I'm assuming it wasn't on year 2 that happened, right? Or did it take a while to get to that point, or how did you build up to having the capacity to start delegating effectively? And it's really cool that you had that wherewithal, that awareness, right? Of like, hey, listen, I'm gonna focus on my highest and best, and if I have concentrated time between 12:30 and 5 p.m., I can knock out all these things during that time frame and be a lot more productive than somebody who's just kind of farting around for 16 hours, thinking they're hustling. Yeah.
Productivity is not being at a desk.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like productivity. Don't conflate the idea of being productive with time.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're absolutely right. It didn't happen right away. Look, when we started, it was all hands on. Like when we started, we were still running our own businesses.
Yeah. What was that?
So I had a company called Game Changers, which was building. We were pretty well known in the Podio ecosystem as a company that built, because my natural kind of, I naturally try and connect people. I try and do things, build things. So I started the first Podio partner. I told you earlier before we were doing this that I was in Barcelona last week,
right,
with the people who bought Podio.
Yeah.
Well, we were running an event that I've been running for 10 years. I've been running this Podio partner event for 10 years. And now they're taking it over from me. But I was the type of guy who did that, who kind of just automatically established a profile by doing stuff. And so I had this company, and then my business partners, Vlad and Alex, who we're still the 3 co-founders. We've got a 4th who's Stefan, who's a more silent co-founder. He doesn't do anything in the business. But the 3 of us are still the people in charge of business. And I had my Podio business. They had their Podio business, hence why SmartPhone started for Podio.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I'm connecting the dots here.
Yeah. Because we were building systems. I was building systems in Podio. They were doing the same. We met, and Vlad. I remember Vlad saying, Vlad and Alex saying, "Man, we should work together."
Yeah.
I think we both. I recognized when I talked to them that they had a technical capability that I just didn't have, and they recognized, I think, when they talked to me, that I had a sales and marketing ability that they didn't have.
Yeah.
And so I remember them saying we should do something together, and I said to them, "I've got an idea for a phone system for Podio."
Yeah.
And I drew out in Lucidchart, which we both use. I drew out what smartphone looked like for the next 6 years. In terms of the dialer, how it looked, and all that, and
mapped it out. Yeah,
I mapped it out, and I told Vlad and Alex this, and Vlad, I remember saying, I can build that.
Yeah,
and so we had our businesses separately. So I invested in the sales and marketing. They invested in the technology. Vlad took the lead in building it and brought in one of his guys, who's still Ovidiu, who's still one of our joint senior head of technology.
Tech.
And we built this thing together. And then when we launched it and scaled it, we probably got, just with Podio customers alone, we probably in the first 2 years, we got to over $1 million a year in revenue. And we had a captive market.
I was in that bucket of customers.
You were. Well, we had a captive. Yeah. We had a captive. The stars aligned in a way that we didn't. I'd love to be a genius and be like, yeah, I planned everything out. No.
Well, I mean, I think, you shouldn't take credit away, because you did see a void. I mean, obviously, you guys are developing stuff inside Podio and going down the Globiflow route. I had a CRM build out that I put together, and like my biggest pain point was a click to call. Once that rolled out, I was like, shit, I need that for my build out, right? So I had in the build out that I was selling in Podio, I had automatic, underwriting and contracts and all kinds of stuff. All the bells and whistles, we couldn't talk, right? And when that came out, it was like, man, this is the one that integrates.
Yeah, we were the first.
Yeah.
And I would say we captured that market.
Yeah,
We captured Podio.
absolutely.
There were other people, like I think Just Call came in a couple years later and saw an opportunity and tried.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I think you guys had cemented your.
I think we planted the flag,
Yeah.
and really nobody was able to dislodge us from a Podio perspective.
Right.
And I would like to think that in some ways that led to us planting the flag in the real estate investment community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are. No, I'm not going to say we're the dominant force in it. We're not. But we're one of the.
Yeah.
We're one of them, and we planted our flag, and that flag's still flying. And the Podio, the stars aligned really perfectly, and we saw a gap. We saw a gap for a deeply integrated phone system.
Yeah.
A seamless, not a collection of zaps and things that not like a jury rigged system. No.
Yeah.
And that principle of deep integration with systems has been our guiding point ever since, because we realized that what we do is make your system sing.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that you guys have been great at through the years is innovating and improving. I mean, every time I'd go in there, like I'd see an update. I'd see you have inside the platform. You guys have this thing on the right where you have updates and you have okay, what's going on, and just like keeping you up to par with everything that's going on, and in terms of compliance, regulation, updates on the platform, stuff like that. So like, believe it or not, but like those things, I mean, I feel like they made a difference, right, for me, because I understand is like, this is not a platform or a software that's getting stagnant. Unfortunately, for example, a big fan of Podio for years, but they did get, they got stale, right?
Oh my God.
It's like, man, it's been like 5 years. The whole tech world is moving like a million light years a second. And these guys haven't done much on that front. So GHL came in, just started doing their thing, right? But you see that kind of I feel, I don't know, maybe their model, and you know more about it than I do, but their model change or their interest change or whatever. But like, if you're not innovating, if you're not staying, ahead of the curve, you fall behind really, really quick. And I think that's one of the things that you guys have been really good at, just working on the foresight, what's coming up around the corner. Right now, I mean, hell, we were talking about AI and the stuff that you guys are developing on that front. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. Everything's pointing that way. So.
Yeah, and being complacent and stagnant is a killer in business, and it doesn't
100%.
really matter what your business model is.
Yeah.
The moment you let yourself be complacent, and you know what, over our history of 8+ years of history, there have been moments where we've, as a leadership team, as Vlad and Alex and myself, been slightly complacent on some things.
Yeah.
And then we've had to and then go whoa, and adjust that, because being complacent and stagnant is always going to put you on the back foot and get you to start to fall.
Yeah.
And I think that's as you start, anybody can start a business. Scaling one's hard. Scaling is the hard bit.
It's a different beast, man.
Starting a business, and I don't mean any disrespect to someone who starts a business and just wants to work for himself or herself. Yeah. And do something. That's awesome, man. That gives you the freedom to control your destiny, to live your life. That's brilliant, beautiful, and I don't mean any disrespect. I think it's awesome. If you're trying to scale a business, though, that's hard. Starting a business, in my view, anybody can start a business and make a few $100,000s a year. It's not hard.
Right.
Scaling a business and really building a vehicle that, from a revenue point of view, from a growth point of view, and all those things, that involves complexities that I had never done before when we did it. Vlad, Alex, and I had never done it before. We had businesses, but they were like 4, 5, 6, 8 people businesses. They were, scaled to that sense of that we had a team, but they weren't scaled businesses.
Right.
Just having a team doesn't mean you've scaled.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I'll agree with that, especially when you're evolving right into higher numbers of, one, production, and then 2, staffing. I mean, there's every level calls a new devil, right? Like that's the saying. And especially when you're bootstrapping it. For example, you guys have been able to achieve something that's made ripples, that's had ripple effects throughout the real estate investor world, and create a really good product. And while bootstrapping the entire thing from the get go. Meaning that you guys are putting in the time, you guys are no outside funding, which is another thing. A lot of times you have venture capital come in and then fund the company, and then boom, next thing you know, you have like this big badass company in place. But
but not really usually.
Yeah, exactly. It's I mean, well, we see those pop up and then they
and then they die.
Then they die, exactly. So I feel like what you guys have done is created the runway, right, for that longevity going through the years. Now, I feel like when you get to a point of where you guys are at right now, it's not just about the business itself. It's about the person that you have to become to get there, right? So there's a lot. I mean, one of the things I love the most about entrepreneurship that it forces us to hold space. One, for responsibility, for self-awareness, for leadership. I mean, we can't be a bullshitter to our own lives and try to lead a team behind us. We have to honor whoever that person needs to be, right, to be able to lead our staff, our teams. And I mean, there's so many things that come hand in hand with that. I mean, of course, revenue is gonna be a reflection of that. But as you're going through that journey and you see the ebbs and flows, the highs and the lows, and the opportunities, I feel like more importantly, you get to put yourself in a very interesting place, right, where you see this whole consolidated image before everybody else does. And I think it takes a special character to run into something like that and really make it fruitful.
Yeah, and I've thought a lot about this over the last 5 years. I think that the CEO role, of which I'm no longer the CEO, I should make it that in March, when we could talk about that. In March this year, I graduated to being chairman of the company.
Yeah. So,
but the CEO role is a unique role.
Yeah.
Everybody else in your company, once you've scaled,
right?
If you got 3 people in your company and you can call yourself a CEO if you want, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
What if you've got a scaled business? So when I stopped being CEO, we had about 62 people, so on. Once you've got that level of business, the CEO role is unique because everybody else gets to put blinders on to what their job is, even in the C-suite. So your CMO, your CTO, your CFO,
they're lane specific.
They're lane specific. And while they may, in your executive conversations, in the leadership conversations, of course your lanes are swapping because you're there to drive all the lanes.
Yeah.
But in their day-to-day life, in their day-to-day thinking, they are lane specific.
Right.
Whether they're in the C-suite as CFO, CTO, CMO, whatever it is, CSO, or not. They are lane specific. The only person who cannot be lane specific in a company is the CEO.
Yeah.
And it's the only role where your real skill set is being able to look. And I struggle, I think we've all struggled as if you're a CEO with like presumption that people will just act like you act.
Yeah, I know.
And that never happens. But one of the things that I try and teach and mentor the people in the company and people underneath me, and when I speak to people who have businesses who are growing, and I try and mentor them, is the idea that you always need to take a beat and to look at the whole board. And lane specific people don't look at the whole board when a problem happens. They look at a lane.
Yeah. I built an organizational matrix and right at the CEO role, I mean, there's certain things, right? People often ask, especially I come across this with students as well. It's like, all right, cool. I have like all the pieces of the engine, they're in place. The engine is running well. I feel like I have nothing to do. It's like, oh, well, it's not that. It's not like you just bought yourself a retirement. It's like we're not there yet, right? Now what you got to think about is what is the overall vision, and then still enrolling the people that are in your team into that vision. Like one of the things that, for example, that you're doing now is you were talking about this is your highest and best is really connecting, is going out there and being seeing new horizons and opportunity, right? And as a CEO, I think, it plays right into that role as well. You're gonna have a director of operations, and guys, just for the record, right? There's all kinds of terminology and positions and roles and names and titles and stuff like that. At the end of the day, we're doing them all. If you don't realize what those are, you're doing them all one way or another. You're the landscaper, you're the acquisition, the disposition, you're the fulfillment, you're the marketing person. Like, we're wearing all those hats. Just what happens when you start to build an actual organization and a structure is that you start to get more organized about it, right? And every one of those lanes has their own set of responsibilities that go along with them. The CEO is in my opinion is just the one that oversees how everything is. You got to have a full picture, full broad picture of what's going on.
But that's the real skill set of the CEO role.
Right.
And the real skill set of the CEO role, in my view at least, is that ability, and I think it's always been one of my powers. So that was good for me. It's a way, but the ability to have the vision of the whole board and how things come together. I've talked a bit about the music background bit and what I was doing in my PhD that directly impacts this. That I have always had a ability to do 3-dimensional kind of visualization of things.
Yeah,
and that really helped me as a CEO, because your job as a CEO.
Break that down a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Well, so. Most people think of things in very linear fashions.
Yeah.
Most people's understanding is 2-dimensional, because they and you see this in organizational matrices. You see this in where people do mind maps, even if they're thinking even in that spatial awareness. Most people think of things in a very kind of 2-axis frame. I gave you the analogy before of music. Mm-hmm. And I'll give it now just because it makes sense. It's an easy one to make sense of. Most people analyze and think about music in 2 dimensions. They think of a horizontal dimension, which is rhythm and melody. And they think in a vertical situation, which is pitch and harmony.
Right.
And that is, if you have ever... so I was a classically trained musician who did 3 degrees in music. When we're taught analysis of music, essentially that's how we analyze most music, is in that 2-dimensional plane. But if you write music, and I used to conduct orchestras, and think deeply about music, you do know when you write music and conduct orchestras and things like that, that there is a 3rd dimension. There's that Z-axis, which is how all of the elements work together.
The conjunction of things, yeah.
How they work together and where they are in the hierarchy of things. Hierarchy matters. And I don't mean hierarchy like positions and roles. The way every element of your business interacts, it's not 2-dimensional, it's 3.
Yeah.
And it's, and things flow in that kind of foreground, background way. And some things have more impact than others. And that's essentially, that was the theory I developed in music, and it really translated when I started building businesses.
Yeah.
Because it was still the ability to sit back and look at the business and understand where things had to work together and how you had to just... My job as CEO was to make these minute adjustments to the team and what they were focused on, because it was their job to execute. Yeah. My job was to make sure that everything was sitting in the right place, facing the right direction, with the right intent.
It's interesting you bring it, or you put it like that, because we have in organizational psychology we have a very similar approach. I just hadn't thought of it as a 3-dimensional process, but we have the process, we have the system, and then we have behaviors, right? And normally, oh yeah, you have to have your systems
And most
and
people
processes
just
in place.
think of systems and processes.
Systems and processes.
And that
Exactly.
that's the X and Y
Yeah.
that most people live in, because they think only in that. But the critical component
Yeah.
in there, the critical component of that is the behavior.
It is. Yeah.
That's the bit that makes it sing. That's the bit that where the execution falls down.
Exactly.
Your systems and processes could be perfect. Your behavior will drive the fall.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. It's and so anytime I build something, if it's going to be a new SOP, like all three of those play into what's going on in the overall picture. Man, it's really interesting. So you bring all these I guess acquired skill sets from a totally different vertical, which is very much on the creative, standpoint, and then you roll them into a very pragmatic field, which there's a lot of creativity behind it when you're building it up, such software, right? Walk me through what you guys. I don't know. To me, it's very interesting to see the origin story of all the great stuff that's out there. For example, your guys' company, you were doing stuff in Podio and building up. You had this, and then you saw a gap, right? So it's not that different from a lot of like the origin stories out there. Like people who are maybe even on that role right now, or on that stage of their life, where it's like, man, I feel like I don't know what it is. It's not planned out, but I'm gonna go for it, right? I mean, you guys are a testament to just the ability of taking action. Well, you don't have everything clear, but you have the willingness to do so. So walk me through that storyline from the get go. What as far as putting it all together, what it took in terms of collaboration. You brought the skill sets, and maybe walk me through maybe the first 5 years of what that entrepreneurial experience was.
Well, the good thing for us was that we'd already had both sides. So myself and Vlad and Alex had our own businesses already. So we weren't starting from a naive point.
Yeah.
And we'd had businesses that had kind of done well and not so well at times. So, we'd already gone through the battles that you learn when you first start up. You there are battles and scars that you get when you start a business and you get into this game, whether that is cash flow scars or legal scars with someone that sues you or whatever it is. You're always going to have scars, and we already had that. So that was a good starting place. Mm-hmm. And then I think we were blessed as well that Vlad and Alex and I and Stefan, but we were very aligned in our values and in what we wanted to build together and on what it mattered to us as people. Mm. And that's really important, because if you've got co-founders, if you've got people you're doing these things with, very well you could see a split. Yeah, we've seen this game before where it all starts out rosy, and then suddenly there's some money involved. And
I went through that in my first business. Yeah,
okay, well, so,
absolutely. Yeah,
it's not that suddenly it's not that you got into bed with a bad person or what. It's not. It's just the alignment of all of that. If you're really going to scale something together, that has to. We were very lucky that we were and we still to this day are very aligned together as a team, as humans, as our families, and that's special. Yeah, I think that's really special. Yeah, and I feel we're really lucky about that, and that's one of the things that's been a real blessing about what we've done together as a team. But the growth of SmartPhone, it was equal parts capability, courage, and luck. Mm. That's the truth.
Well, they call it luck, but I think it's preparation and timing, right?
Well, and I put the preparation a bit into, whether you say courage or preparation, there you go. The preparation, without question, preparation. We were honed and good. We're good at what we do. Yeah. And you have to be good to be able to do it. But I think for me, the biggest thing and it usually is from an entrepreneur point of view, because there's lots of people who are capable out there. Yeah. But you have to have the courage to back yourself.
Yeah.
And I see this all the time when I talk to people. If someone's just starting on a business, or you get asked to speak at an event, an entrepreneur event or a university thing, and the thing that separates the people who really win usually from the people who don't is that the people who don't rarely they never truly back themselves. Now that doesn't mean if you back yourself you're going to succeed, because I've failed in businesses before.
Yeah.
But the point is, you have to have the courage to be able to go into this wholeheartedly for the full fight. And so many people they're looking to keep something as a fallback, or I need to make sure I have at least this. Well, that's not how the game works.
Yeah.
You go in swinging, and you go in for the full fight, or you're not going to make it.
Are you talking about burning the bridges here between, whatever you have, or are you a proponent of burning the bridges and just going, balls out, or is it more of like plan it out, do a transition? Because I always get split opinions on that.
I'm balls out, go. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. I'm a leap before I look guy.
Yeah, I tend to do that quite a bit. Too.
I leap.
It's proven expensive in the past.
That's true. It hurts sometimes, but I always put it like, I leap before I look, trusting that I'm gonna figure out as I fall.
Yeah.
And it is always. Now, sometimes I've been lucky, sometimes I've had help, people who've supported me or whatever. Absolutely. It's not like you always have to recognize that your success is built on the backs of everybody who's helped you, even if it's just advice or people who have your family has supported you financially when you failed something and you need to pay rent, right? Which has happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to most of us. But you've got to trust. Like I've always been in the position of you the moment you see that shot, you just go for it, and you just figure, I'll figure it out. I'll somehow figure it out. And so that's the way I approach it 100% of the time.
Yeah. Okay. So that to me is very interesting, right? I'm very, very similar in that sense. Shoot first, aim later, type of stuff. Or jump and then build the plane on the way down, and yeah, sometimes you get surprised, very pleasantly surprised, by the results, because like, oh, okay, cool, I hadn't seen this little angle, this perspective, this thing here. We just don't know what we don't know. It's what it really comes down to, right? And if you have the courage to bet on yourself and the faith, right, to do so as well. And take the leap, take the action.
Well, and you've got to be competent.
Yeah,
but that's a really important bit, because I don't want to give people the impression that you just have to back yourself and like, hey, this is good. But I used to teach. You had the competence and confidence matrix that I used to talk about when people were asking me how to hire people.
Yeah, I
have a matrix of competence and confidence. And that quadrant is really important, because on the one axis, you've got confidence and the other competence. Now, your dream is the top right, which is the high competence, high confidence. Yeah. Dream employee. Yeah. Absolutely, right? The one you're never going to hire is the bottom left, which is low confidence.
Low confidence, low confidence.
The one that's going to hurt you the most, high confidence, low confidence, baby. Yeah. No, but and so that leap before you look bit, which I certainly have always done, and I suspect you as. I think it only works because we're also very competent.
Yeah,
we also have that. We have an ability to see, or the skill sets to be able to maneuver or develop relationship or whatever.
Learn quick and be open to guidance. Right? Like, I feel like one of the things that we see, and you probably see it quite a bit too, there's always a big ego battle with business owners out there. And I don't know, almost like, a chip on the shoulder. It's like, no, I can do this. I don't need help from anybody. I got it figured out. I don't want to voice out my vulnerabilities, insecurities, or where I'm not, capable of, because then I look weak. Like, dude, fuck that. It's all about progress, I think, right? And the reality of life is that we're never going to be the best at everything. There's always going to be somebody out there better than us. Why? Because they've been in it for longer. They're just sharper people. We like take that into account, right? Like, I think we have to be realistic. Also, it gives you a superpower because now you have the ability to understand and be open-minded, right? To improvement, to new perspectives. We were just talking about how you guys are just crushing and developing like new AI stuff that I was just kind of messing around with. I mean, after a combo, dude, I'm throwing all my stuff in the trash can and then just going off of what you guys have, and that's perfectly fine, to do so when you pivot and you're growing into all these different levels of success or challenges.
Yeah,
right?
Ego is an unfortunate side product of the entrepreneurial game a lot of times. Ego, we have a thing in smartphone where when we're doing some values, I threw in the one of confident but not cocky.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it. I've always been confident.
Yeah,
like since I was a small child. Whatever misplaced thing that made the small little boy a bit that confident, right? Whatever it was, but I've always had confidence. But I don't think I've ever been cocky. And there is a difference there.
Absolutely.
That's super important because ego is good in that it establishes self-worth, is bad when it drives all those other habits, whether it is self-destruction habits, whether it is arrogance, an inability to change because I know better, inability to listen because I know better. There are good and there are bad elements of those kind of parts of your personality.
Right.
You don't want to necessarily get rid of them all because part of being a CEO is having the confidence to establish people to a vision that people will buy into.
Right.
People buy in, your team buy into you and your vision. They follow you and your vision because they're like, man, this is exciting. I believe in these guys. I believe in this team. That's the good bit. The arrogant bit can come in very quickly as well, though.
Yeah.
And that's a bit that I think people have to keep watch on because it's super also easy when you get, one of the things I don't do very often is go to, I'm in the software as a service business, SaaS. I don't go to a lot of SaaS conferences. There's a reason. Because it's just a bunch of people blowing smoke up each other's asses. Look how fucking smart we are. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I get it. Yes, great. You did that. But it's there's a danger where you can start to be like, yeah, I am fucking brilliant.
You start adopting it.
Yeah, and you gotta knock that shit out real quick.
Yeah, I think it's very important to just, take inventory of not just joining circles for the sake of being in a circle, right? But the right type of people that will serve both ways, I feel, and be in alignment with your values, with the person that you want to become, with the goals and the bigger visions, right? People that are going to push you in a positive and healthy way. I'm not saying like not give you constructive criticism when needed, because I have a lot of friends that hey bro, like if they're my real friends,
they'll knock you when you need it.
They're like, hey dude, here's a red flag, bro, like you're fucking up. You know what I mean?
You're being an asshole.
Exactly. It's like, all right, cool. And I'll love them for it. But you do have a lot of that. I feel. Bigger presence, bigger just ego, just driving the entire, conversation or politics of a lot of the groups out there. So it's important to as you're growing into, all these different areas and building your network, building your connections, to just take inventory of the type of people that you're also doing it with, because you are going to adopt, you are going to borrow behaviors, and then you're just going to, turn them into a habit after a while. So it's just how it happens.
Absolutely. And also it's, success is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can be, at least. One of them is, if you have the type of personality that's maybe got a little chip on your shoulder. You know, we've all met enough people that have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. Maybe they don't feel like they were appreciated enough at this point, or whatever it is, right? The success and money can drive the worst habits of a human being.
Yeah, the character that gets me the most, I feel like all the time, maybe because I resonate with it a little bit, but it's like, oh, I come from nothing, and now, like, you know, look at my yacht, or I don't know, whatever, but or all my
and the constant need to say, look at my watch.
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing. Like, if you want, like, I'm learning to fly a plane right now. I'm going to buy a plane at some point.
Yeah, and it's not about like the material stuff. It's just about bringing it back onto to that.
It's one of the reasons why I don't go, like, I can't stand social media. I know I have to, but I fucking hate it.
It's a business tool. It's a business tool,
and I'm trying to get better at it. It's just I just don't care.
No, and usually, the second part to that comment I made, right? It's not that, like, if you're proud about the stuff that you're buying because of your success, it's a bad thing. It's not that, but it's usually what I see in correlation with that. And I mean, I'm telling you, 99.9% of the time it goes hand in hand. People with that mentality or that MO per se, right, have a tendency to be takers. And not necessarily contributors to, not that I want everybody to give me shit, but or free stuff or anything. It's just, you know, contribution on a you know, go-giver mentality, right? That goes both ways. It's usually kind of like a vortex of attention, vortex of everything coming in one way, and it builds a pattern. It just builds a pattern of you know, how, you know, the world is seen through those eyes. You know, that's all I'm saying on that side. But I feel like as you go up, you know, you move up the ranks, you see more of that, and you have to stay honest and truthful to that person who you truly want to be, right?
Well, I'll give you so I'm a member of, because we bootstrapped this business, and there's a guy called Greg Head who has a thing called Practical Founders. Mm-hmm. And it's practical founders who are software businesses that have no outside funding or very small, like some angel and things like that. Well, last night, there's three of them that live in Phoenix, in my group of 8 CEOs, and not 8 of us in our little group.
Sure. Yeah.
And the 4 of us went out for dinner last night. And
that's awesome. Yeah.
But the conversation was raw and real. Like serious personal, like we dived into it with a couple of, you know, people who are having some challenges. I'm not going to go through them all, but the point is there was 4 people. The top business in that group of 4 these are all people like 20 million, 20 million bootstrapped 100%. The next guy is doing 12 and just got 100 million investment and pocketed 25 million. Then
so they're doing okay.
Yeah, right. But these are guys who are have built substantial businesses, and we got together for 3 hours last night over some food, and the conversations were raw, open. Yeah. We're supportive, and those are the people to surround yourself with.
Yeah,
because they're not gonna be there for the good times only. You're going to be able to bring the things up. We talked about our anxiety last night. We talked, you know, all sorts of things. We were open with each other. We were vulnerable to each other. We've built this relationship. And so surrounding yourself with the right people like that is absolutely critical as you go work up that success tree, because it's so easy, I think, to surround yourself with the wrong people there.
Yeah,
and it becomes easier and easier as the money increases, and people want a piece of that, money or success.
Well, one of the things that rolls into that is also that sense of or the need of to belong, right? It was like, oh, I want to fit in with the group, so I have to do this, and that, and I don't know. I feel like it's. Authenticity is the thing that can get lost in you know, when things are confusing like that. But again, it comes back to the type of people. There's a commonality, man. I talk about this on on the podcast all the time, but there is a commonality between just business owners in general, right? It doesn't matter the vertical, if it's software, if it's real estate, if it's services and trades or whatever. I've had through the years I've had a lot of people in different verticals, and the power of trust, right? The power of community and having that group of people that are gonna, hold you accountable when needed, but more importantly, be there and just be open and honest and just let you see the real world. Yeah, man, that's the one thing that I keep seeing in people who really end up having successful practices, longevity in business, and more important, principles that anybody can uphold. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I think what I have found over the years is that you can identify the grifters pretty quick. You can identify the assholes pretty quick, right? And you just choose that. There are times when I've had to do business with people that I don't necessarily like.
Yeah.
Personally, like that, they don't chime with me as well. Sure, there've been times, but I rarely do business with people whose values are completely opposite of my own.
Yeah.
Right? Like I cannot like someone. I can find this person a bit of a dick, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad or their value. Like,
right.
It just we don't match.
It's a different type of relationship.
Yeah,
and, biz ops,
and that's fine. But you rarely will be able to do any productive business with someone whose values are far apart from yours.
Yeah,
it's never going to go anywhere. That's a red flag you cannot ignore. In the same way that when you build a company, culture is a red flag you can't ignore.
Yeah,
the cultures that you build inside your company inform every element of it. Every part of how your people interact internally, how your people interact with your customers, etc. That is driven by the culture you create there.
Yeah.
And if you are not focused on building the one that aligns with your values, then there'll be a disjoint that can't be solved and can't be healed.
I agree with that. And to summarize culture, right? I feel like culture is the thing, or not the thing, but it's what people are saying, what your employees are saying about your company when you're not listening. When they're on their own, are they, being happy and giddy about what's going on with your business, the activities that are going, that are going on within the business, the growth, the trajectory, the direction of it. And it's also something that if as business owners or CEOs or leaders, we don't place enough emphasis on, talent is not attracted. Like it's so hard to get the good people through the door. If you're just focusing on the revenue, it's like, oh, we just got to hit this benchmark. Like there's so many different facets that go into a business outside of that, right? That's gonna be the nuts and bolts. And yeah, you got to do that to keep the lights on and create the platform at the beginning. But it doesn't mean that you can't start creating this culture that becomes attractive or a magnet, right, for talent.
Culture trumps almost everything.
Yeah,
culture trumps almost anything, because it's sort of like when you hire someone. I've never given a shit about someone's CV. I don't care. Your CV means nothing to me, and genuinely, in some ways, not completely, but skills even don't mean as much to me. They do
by
in some
CV.
positions.
Is that a resume in Europe or what is it?
Oh shit, yeah. So that shows how far I've.
This guy comes from across the pond, by the way. I don't think I mentioned it at the beginning of the.
Yeah, that shows my cultural. The resume, your resume.
Yeah.
People give curriculum vitae in the UK.
Yeah,
the CV. The resume, I really don't give a shit about your resume.
Yeah,
and even your skill set, unless it's a skill set based role where like if you're applying to be a developer and you can't develop, well, I care about that skill set. But the truth is, it is in the same way that culture is for the organization, it is attitude for the personal, the person. It is I used to hire people back in the day when I did my consultancy. My hiring process wasn't to do an interview. It was to take him to the pub, to the bar. Because I was in the UK where it was acceptable to go to the pub. Here it's a little different. Here it feels like you're going to go for a session. But we'd go to the pub and we just chat. Because
Yeah.
what I know, I need to know who you are, because skills and like there are all sorts of transferable skills. There are things that can be taught, and quite honestly, I'm gonna want to make sure that you're doing things the way my company does it. I don't want you to
Yeah.
bring in some, I'm gonna want you to kind of train out of some things, but culture for the organization and attitude for the individual are the red flags you cannot ignore. Because
Yeah.
you could have someone who's got the best resume in the world and has the greatest skills, but if he's an asshole, he's going to break your team apart.
Yeah.
And you can have a company
It's contagious.
yeah, and like Boeing, maybe I'm not allowed to call it a brand here but so there's an airline company.
You're totally good.
Okay.
We're not that big yet.
Well, Boeing, right? Boeing is a classic example
Yeah.
of a company where culture was destroyed by the company.
Yeah.
Boeing set the standard as an engineering-led culture company that had a culture of accountability and of people who gave a shit about what they did.
Yeah.
And then they merged, and the bean counters became the people who owned the company, and they didn't give a shit about the culture and what they cared about the money and the shareholders.
Yeah.
And now, when Boeing's in the news these days,
Yeah.
are we happy about those news stories?
Yeah, it's usually not.
It's usually not good.
Yeah.
Door falling off in
Yeah.
mid-flight, not as good. So, but the point is, it wasn't that suddenly Boeing had less engineers, qualified people. It wasn't, and this is usually what happens in
It was
organizations.
a shift in behavior as well.
It's a shift in culture and values of the company.
Yeah.
And when you're hiring people, if you're not paying attention to their attitude and to how they are as people, whatever skills they bring will be minimal compared to the disruption they will bring to you by being an asshole.
Psychologically, we have this thing as human beings. We have this thing that we can adapt to anything for a period of 3 months, and so you tend to see. I don't know if you see that in turnover or attrition or kind of like the qualifier for whether this person is going to stay for the long run or not. But people are willing to do for the sake of, okay, it's good pay. I'm going to give that a shot. I'm going to go sit in this role, even if they're not enjoying it. They'll be able to adapt to it without. I guess your brain damage for a period of around 90 days. It's kind of like the average cycle. After that, you start to see a deficit. If that person is not the right person for the seat, you'll start to see a deficit in performance. You start to see it decline. So it's pretty interesting, man. But you have to, like, going back to, for example, that tri-level way of seeing business. There's depth to all of these things. Culture plays into the organizational side, and like you said, attitude at the individual side, right? Somebody may put their best foot forward at the beginning, show you the best attitude, for the hiring interview, but it's not until I feel like you have to get belly to belly with people, and understand them, at a personal level. To see whether or not they're going to be a fit for the long run, right?
And you want to unless you're IBM or Microsoft or there's different. I always hate it when you'll read a business book and they'll be like, let me give you Microsoft's case study.
Yeah.
What do I give a fuck about Microsoft?
You're not
I'm not Microsoft, mate.
It's not scalable to do it that way.
I am not 100,000 person employee, and stop doing case studies where we're looking at Nike or Apple when they do business case studies. Like, who gives a shit?
Bootstrapping is a lot different than
It's like when Facebook got the Facebook case when with the social where everybody decided that they could build a company and make as much money as Facebook and get no you can't but so one of the things that I think it's really important to understand one of the things that's great about having a what I would say is a small business, which is under 250 employees for me.
Yeah.
Right? We're a small business. One of the things I love about it is you have, even as you scale, and it's harder as you scale to 60, 65, right? We talked about the kind of levels of scaling where everything changes, right? I would say the first level was 10, then 20, then 40, then 60. and then 100. Those are my levels that I've seen in my execution.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about having a company like ours and at this level is you can build a company, or if you do it right, and I think we've done it pretty well, where the people want to be there and they want to fight for the company.
Yeah.
And they want, when the shit hits the fan, which occasionally it always does, when crisis, we've had crisis that I've had to deal with.
Do they rally or do they run?
Do they rally? And do they rally? Not just do they rally because they want to keep their job, but do they throw down and we're like, let's get in this shit.
Yeah.
Right? And we had a crisis happen 3 years ago. I won't go into all the details because but I'll go into some of the details, but let's be honest. We had a compliance crisis happen about 3.5 years ago. I was CEO. We had about 50 people 3 years ago. And we had a compliance problem, which wasn't our problem. One of our groups of customers had a compliance problem, but there was enough of them that trickled up to becoming a big fucking deal. And it was existential. Like this company could be taken down in the next couple of days. I was CEO and everybody, I essentially assembled a crisis team and I directed, everything went through me, not out of ego, out of clarity. Because in a crisis, you need clarity.
DEFCON 1 right there.
In crisis, you need clarity. You can't have everybody running around wondering. You need clear direction.
Right.
But you had an entire company who was just like, let's get in there.
Yeah.
And I saw and the executive team and the senior people in the company, people who were juniors in this department were like, I can get, we're taking responsibility. We're getting in there and getting the mix. And that's the kind of, when you build that culture and you build that kind of, that sense of the company being the place they want to be, and that goes beyond just, their monthly pay.
Yeah.
Then I think that's a really special part of having a company of this kind of size. Because you're never going to get that in Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the spirit of the business can start to dissipate as we grow bigger, and I can relate to it too. I had another business when I sold. We were up to 48 people, and so it's a good size,
significant.
Yeah, it's a good size operation, and then you do see people coming in, and when the attrition is not, we had really good retention compared to other companies in the industry. But you'd see, for example, we come in and then do a hiring round of, 5 people, right? And then we end up keeping 2. And then I just kept, growing the company, in that fashion until we had a pretty decent, solid team in place. Once I sold, most people left because the culture changed. This is, 6 months into it. I mean, we had they had a handful of people that just, decided to stay after that. But again, it goes hand in hand, right? Like you are gonna the way that you run, what you tolerate, you're gonna get, and that's one. But also the way that you carry the conversations with people, the interest in people, the fact that they're seeing you engaged, right? For example, in an emergency situation, you're taking that seriously, you're running point on that. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is a let's step up type of moment, right? And people are gonna rally around that.
Well, and I think crisis is such an interesting leadership point.
Yeah.
Right, because being a leader when everything's easy, it's not that fucking hard.
Yeah, you're more of a cheerleader at that point.
Yeah, at that point, it's just like crisis and difficulty is where I think, there are leadership elements where with crisis and difficulty, you really see what the leadership capabilities of people are.
Right.
And I have my ideas and theories of what really matters in crisis, but I think crisis gives you an opportunity to see not only I think you can see the leaders and what their capabilities are, and the team, you can see where the culture really has brought the team to. And not just that they're engaged, etc., but that they're bought in, they're in the fight.
Right.
There's a difference between I'm like doing it and I'm in the fight.
Yeah.
And when you're in the fight, you're gonna go to the mat. They're gonna go to the mat with us, and they're gonna get in whatever they have to do, get in the mud to fight. And that's something that only comes from the years of building that culture and building those relationships. So that, and that's why I think culture matters so much to people as well, to companies, because if you don't build that, when the shit hits the fan,
yeah,
they're not going to be there for
rally
you.
or run, one of the two.
Right. But when you invest in that and when you build it the right way, then when there are difficulties, people they're not even looking to run.
Right.
They're looking, what can I do?
Exactly.
And that's what you want to build. That's what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, well, that's how you get to a space where you can actually start to step away from the business, right? And leave, for example, a role as a CEO, delegate that, and then plug somebody else into that, and then you do bigger and better things. That's incredible, man. Before we start signing off, let's switch gears a little bit and talk to me about what you guys are working on right now on SmartPhone. What's coming up around or in the horizon for you guys here?
Well, the number one thing that everybody's talking about, of course, is AI.
Yeah.
Right. AI is the topic of the day for good reasons. It's a transformational shift.
Yeah.
AI is not going away. It's a transformational shift. And I actually talked about this with Steve Trang on his Disruptors podcast. We talked about there's a book that I don't think you have it here, but I'm going to recommend to you that's The Structure of Scientific Revolutions.
Structure of Scientific Revolutions
by T.S. Kuhn, Thomas Scott Kuhn. And
I just had Steve on the podcast too. We just put that out a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
awesome. Well, Steve's a great guy.
Yeah, love Steve,
but when we talked about AI on his podcast, we talked about it being a transformational shift, and that comes from this book where it's a point where the rules have changed and you're over here now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and we talk, the internet was a transformational shift. The internet was a transformational shift. The rules of how we worked as a society changed with the internet. Before the internet, you had to go to the bookstore and order a book. And, the rules changed. And AI is a transformational shift.
Yeah.
The rules have changed, and we're here now, and we can't go back. So with smartphone, we've had to look at it a couple ways. We've had to, obviously, we service, there are thousands and thousands of people using the smartphone every day to make calls and to do their communication. So we have to build an infrastructure, first of all, that's as robust as we already have. And the infrastructure around AI is a weak point right now in the ecosystem in general, because people are using these tools and thinking that they can, well, look, I can just connect this to this and then off we go. Yeah, that works for you. It doesn't scale though.
Right.
So you have to build that properly. But I'm incredibly excited about the new AI capabilities. We're about to launch a new AI marketplace for an agent marketplace.
That's gonna be huge, man.
Yeah, it's and the thing to remember about and people are gonna like this or not. Some people are gonna hate this idea, but agentic AI needs to be thought of as labor, not as software, not as features, not as agentic AI should be thought of as labor costs to your business.
Elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, so because one of the things that with ChatGPT and the launch of Claude and Grok and all these sort of LLM models, people understand that as a piece of software,
right?
And it's essentially a tool, right? Yeah. I can go to ChatGPT and I can get information, or I can get it to do certain bits. Agentic AI is the next step in this whole kind of journey we're on, where you have the knowledge base, which is the LLM side of things, combined with the ability to make decisions and take actions. That's what humans do.
Right.
We make decisions and we take actions. And so when we think of agents, when I think of agents for smartphone, which we're about to launch this marketplace where people can hire agents, they don't upgrade software, they hire agents, because that's the truth. The agent is now, when the agent answers a call, it's an employee essentially answering a call on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a huge amount of exciting possibilities now, because now we have an ecosystem, and we're in a place where, your phones can be answered on the first ring 24/7.
Yeah.
And we can train these agents in skills, in sales skills, in specific vertical skills, in real estate skills, in property management skills, in whatever it is. We can give them the resources and the training and the barriers and the constraints to be able to act as a highly qualified set of labor for your business. And that's where we're going now. And so we're about to launch our AI marketplace. I gave you a very quick demo earlier,
right,
of the agent on the call. I called one of our test agents that we're working on, and you listened to it, asking me questions. You listened to the agent congratulating me on getting a job, because I told the agent, not it, he asked me why I was thinking of selling my property. I said I got a job across the country, and what did he do? He congratulated me.
Yeah.
He congratulated and said that's a really big deal, and then we talked about how that influenced the timeline.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how it's all evolving so quickly, right? All these tools out there, and they're getting better day by day. It's just one of those things that we have to stay on top of. We have to really jump on that boat. I mean, think about what it's going to do, for example, for VA companies out there that are just lead managers. When you have somebody with a strong for example accent, or they just don't sometimes I've hired a lot of in-house VAs to handle some of the like the routinary stuff that the tasky stuff, it's like I can't show up to work today. I can't do the same thing.
My internet's down.
My internet's down.
Internet's down.
A storm.
There's a storm. Like that's absolutely true.
Yeah,
that's 100% true. And nowadays we have technology that is 24/7.
Yeah, so that's going into it, then training all these, and then just optimizing as you're going, through, because the ability to optimize all these, AI agents, is there, right? Based on your model, based on the way that you close, based on the way that you run your business. And in our vertical, for example, negotiation wise, what we offer,
Precisely.
it's like training an employee, but
and we've developed in our infrastructure, we've developed agents that listen and train. We've got quality assurance agents that are listening, that are monitoring the agents, right? We have agents monitoring agents to get feedback loops and things like that. But core sales skills, like that just a couple months ago I launched a book, Click, Call, Scale. Yeah, and in there I have whole sets of chapters on some of the core ways that the sales skills and the continuing need to train and monitor performance that is so critical to building a team, that we're able to build some of those skills into these agents. Yeah. Right? We trained our first agent, we trained on 3 chapters of my book. Yeah. We basically just fed it those chapters, which was all about active listening, questioning, empathy, mirroring, all those sorts of base sales skills. And we're able to continue to refine the models of these agents and personalize them to each individual customer. So that like customer A, this is their business and this is how they work. And this is, those agents can do it. And I would say they can do it in both English and Spanish right now. Yeah, we've got both.
Oh, that's huge, man. When I rolled out that Spanish leg to the business, it's a huge.
When we did this right from the beginning,
the difference.
Right from the beginning, we decided, because the U.S. is our primary marketplace, we decided we would do everything in Spanish and English. Yeah, and make sure that we had agents that could work in Spanish, transcriptions that can work in Spanish.
Epic. Well, that's going back to a full circle, I guess, here on the conversation, right? Like we're talking about systems and processes and behaviors. You're covering the behavior aspect of it with the training of the AI,
and that's the key thing to understand about agents, because if you think about this, you will have no doubt before. Well, you'll probably have trained cold callers with a script.
Yeah,
you'll have to have. We don't train our agents with scripts. You probably have used a chatbot on some website, and that chatbot, before AI got involved, agentic AI got involved, that chatbot is basically a series of pathways that you predetermine. Right? If they ask this,
say that.
Here's the response. It's call and response. Scripts are prescribed conversation paths that they can't really deviate from, right? That's not what agentic AI does. With agentic AI, you train the skills and the agent then makes the decision. And that's why, you can throw curveballs to it. Like I did not train that agent that you listened to me show you before. There is nothing in there that says if they tell you they got a job across the country, congratulate them.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing. Is we train them on empathy. We train them on what it means to understand someone's emotions and respond to it. And then the agent makes those decisions.
Right.
And so that in real time, that agent had to process me saying, I got a job across the country, and then make a decision, just like we do, about how to respond.
So
but how incredible is that,
dude? I mean, it's
that's
amazing.
Fucking mind blowing.
It is,
right?
Absolutely. Think about what that does to like a solo, apreneur, right?
You can scale a whole team.
Exactly. You can handle it. I mean, you can handle a lot of that. If you're going to be working your business, I don't know, 6 hours a day, you're probably going to be able to delegate 4 of those hours,
100%,
and then focus on the other 2 on high quality stuff that's already cleaned up and pre-converted, I guess, right, to a higher degree. So it's going to be huge, man, for people who get on the wave here and really jump on okay, cool, I have to get with the times, right? There has to be a system, there has to be a process, but more importantly, there has to be a behavioral connection behind everything that I'm doing. In this case, I mean, you can run that through AI. I think the sky's the limit, because we're really back into 1998, 1999, and 2000 when the internet hit, and this is not going to go anywhere. It's like, and then it did.
This anybody who doesn't understand that AI
it's a new world.
It is a transformational shift. We are now here.
Right, exactly.
And we are not going back to here.
It's not coming. It's here.
We're here. Yeah. And we are here now, and the rules are here now. We're playing in this game now. That game's over. We're in this game now.
Exactly.
And some people don't like this game. Some people are scared of this game.
Yeah.
There are justifiable concerns about this game.
Right.
100%. Of course there are. Of course there are. Both from a human point of view in terms of jobs, from a Terminator point of view, but we of course there are, but we're here now.
Yeah.
That's all. This
is the printing press of current times. It's really what's going on.
Well, no, that's what I genuinely, not to plug this goddamn Thomas Kuhn book, but you'd love it, because he taught, the whole point is like,
give me that title again.
It's called The Structure of Scientific Revolutions.
The Structure of Scientific Revolutions.
It's a super good book. It's a brilliant book that, but what I love about it is just this idea that it's like, there are times in the world, throughout history where the rules of the game just shifted.
Yeah.
And when we start to understand that, we can start to identify those times, but we also can identify now that we're in one of those times. Yeah. And we are in a time, just like to your point about the .com era, and the .com era was boom and bust, but the internet was the transformational shift.
Yeah.
And there is no part of our life that hasn't changed. Almost since from dating to shopping,
everything,
from buying houses to going on holiday, from
work.
There's no part of our life that didn't change, that the internet didn't do a fundamental shift on. And I think AI is the same.
Yeah, man, it's very very exciting. I feel like times to come, and there's no other thing to do but get on board, because this
100%.
is, like you said, this thing is here. Jordan, man, incredible conversation. I love having the We're gonna follow up this just for some context. We're gonna follow up on this conversation right now over some tacos right now, because that's where we're headed right after we record the podcast. My man's coming over from the other side of the pond, so they don't have good tacos.
No, they don't have any good Mexican food. So like, I said to Rafael earlier, I was like, man, I gotta have some proper tacos.
It's happening. It's one of my I'm sort of a taco connoisseur, so yes.
Even better.
Yes. With that being said, brother, thank you so much for being on the podcast, A Wealth of Knowledge. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing. I mean, you guys are, again, ripple effects. You guys have made a big impact in my business. I know a lot of the stuff that I've done in the past, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I mean, for example, smartphone has saved my ass on suits and litigation and stuff like that, just because of the level of accountability and record keeping and you know, all the stuff that you guys have within the platform. So keep doing amazing stuff. Before I sign off, two things. First off is, if you were walking down the street and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what advice would you give that kid?
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. I mean, I was stupid as a 17-year-old kid.
Aren't we all?
Right? But I was stupid. But like, and everything I did, from music to, you know, like drugs, women, music, all of that sort of things, everything led me to here.
Yeah.
And there's a fallacy to think that everything you've done, the successes and the failures, everything's led yourself to here. And I've never gone wrong trusting my instincts and trusting myself. And I would say just do that, and everything else you'll figure out.
Beautiful. I love it. Jordan, if somebody wants to reach out to you, get a hold of you, maybe continue the conversation, inquire more about SmartPhone and what you guys are doing in that realm, where's the best place to find you at?
I would say social media, except I'm terrible at that. So, but of course, I technically am on Instagram. I think it's J Samuel Fleming, because for the while I was trying to make people not find me. But you can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm definitely on LinkedIn, is where most people reach out to me. So hit me up on LinkedIn, and smartphone, smrtPhone's.io. And also don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, you and I hopped on a Zoom 5 years ago or whatever it was. Genuinely, I hop on calls with customers to this day. Yeah. Pretty much weekly. And I will always, now sometimes those calls are not fun because they're angry. And that's fine.
It is what it is.
I'll take, the shit flows to the top, right? You go to me. But the truth is, I love speaking to customers. I love listening to customers. And so don't hesitate to reach out to me, even if it's just, if you just want a bit of maybe you're new at investing or even new in business and you want to just get a bit of advice, hit me up on LinkedIn, Jordan Samuel Fleming, search for me. I'm pretty easy to find, and I'm happy to speak to anybody.
Beautiful. And one last thing too, you did mention you have the book, and you're going to give us a link so talk about that for a little bit.
So the book is called Click, Call, Scale: The Real Estate Investor's Ultimate Phone System Playbook. And it's basically, look, I spent over a decade working with hundreds and hundreds of real estate investors, building their systems, and then I built SmartPhone with my co-founders. And we do millions and millions of calls every month. So I've got a long experience of working, seeing what works and what doesn't. And I just decided it was time to put it all down in one, a book that could give you easy, actionable steps. Every chapter has actionable checklists that you can be like, I need to look at these things. And it goes through every part of a real estate investor's approach to phone, how to use it, how to scale a team, how to train, how to keep quality, to be compliant, to use text messaging, cold calling, all of that in one book. And yeah, absolutely. So I've got a landing. I'll give you the link to the landing page. I think it's clickcallscale.com/CEO Pulse, and get it to you so you can put it in the link. And if you click there, you can get a free copy of the book. And I think there's a shipping charge of $4, but the book's free.
Perfect. Sounds good. We'll get that from you, and then we'll drop it in the show notes as well. So if you're active in the space, I mean, one of the biggest things that we keep talking about all the time right now is how do you stay on top of, changing times and compliance and being able to connect with people. Because a lot of the times we have, systems and platforms out there, and then we're sending stuff out, we're sending text messages, we're sending, making out the calls and whatever, and then you pop up as spam, and people don't pick up that, so your connection rate is lower. All of that stuff, it's things that you guys have done a really good job about, mitigating. So, brother, once again, thank you for taking the time. It's always a pleasure to have great conversations with you, and I'm really looking forward to those tacos right now and keeping it going.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to see you again, and I cannot wait for the tacos.
Boom, let's go, fam. There you guys have it. Make sure that you reach out, you connect, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. If you want to take a look at mentorship and real estate wholesaling in general, go to reiwholesaling.com. You know where to find me. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share the podcasts. Sign up. Not sign up, but the YouTube and
subscribe.
Subscribe, and exactly. I'm the same way, bro. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay focused. You got this. Boom.